Night had fallen, blanketing Sarah's living room in an eerie silence. The only light emanated from the flickering glow of her television screen, a news broadcast ending with a shrill burst of static.
This just in, another mysterious disappearance has been reported in town.
Sarah shuddered, a chill crawling up her spine despite the summer heat. She reached for the remote, a wave of unease washing over her. The room was too quiet, the silence pressing against her like a physical weight. The static on the screen intensified, morphing into a chaotic dance of white noise. A low hum began to emanate from the television's speakers, vibrating against the floorboards beneath her feet. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. Something was deeply, unsettlingly wrong. Then, from the heart of the static, a voice emerged. A whisper, barely audible at first, like a breath against her ear.
"Help me!"
It rasped, the sound distorted and laced with static. Sarah's breath hitched in her throat, her eyes widening in disbelief. She scrambled back on the couch, pressing herself against the cushions as if seeking refuge. The whisper grew louder, more insistent, echoing through the room.
"Please, help me!"
The voice seemed to be coming from the television, yet it felt as if it were all around her, seeping into her very bones. Sarah fumbled for her phone, her fingers trembling so violently she could barely dial. Her pulse pounded in her ears, drowning out the voice that now screamed from the television. Shadows danced with renewed fervor, twisting into grotesque shapes along the walls. A sharp rap on the door jolted Sarah, making her jump. The voice from the television ceased abruptly, replaced by an even more unnerving silence. Her breath caught in her throat, each inhale a shallow gasp. The rapping came again, louder this time, insistent and demanding. Fear, raw and primal, threatened to consume her. Cautiously, Sarah rose from the couch, her legs trembling beneath her. The doorknob rattled, the sound seeming to echo through the room like thunder. Sarah's hand trembled as she reached for the doorknob, her mind screaming at her to run, to escape. With a deep breath, she flung the door open, her heart pounding in her chest. The hallway beyond was empty, shrouded in darkness. A cold draft seeped in, sending a shiver down Sarah's spine. There was no one there. She leaned out, peering into the shadows, searching for any sign of the source of the knocking. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of her own ragged breathing. As she stepped back into the apartment, a movement on the television screen caught her eye. The static had returned, swirling and churning like a raging storm. But this time, within the chaos, shapes began to form. Vague, indistinct figures, their features blurred and distorted by the static.
Whispering, "Help us."
Panic surged through Sarah, threatening to overwhelm her. The figures grew more distinct, their forms solidifying, their cries for help echoing from the television speakers. The figures on the screen multiplied, their forms becoming clearer, their desperation palpable. Their eyes, wide with terror and pleading, met hers across the abyss of the television screen. The voice from the television, now a chorus of whispers and screams, intensified.
"Don't let them forget us."
Sarah stood frozen, her body trembling, her mind struggling to comprehend the nightmare unfolding before her. The ghostly figures seemed to reach out from the screen, their elongated fingers brushing against her skin, icy cold and insubstantial. Their touch sent a jolt of terror through her, a primal fear that resonated deep within her soul. She had stumbled into something ancient, powerful, and utterly terrifying. The static intensified, engulfing the figures on the screen, their cries growing fainter as they were dragged back into the abyss. Sarah closed her eyes, unable to bear the sight of their suffering any longer. The air crackled with a final burst of energy, and then silence descended once more. When she finally dared to open her eyes, the television screen was blank, the static replaced by the familiar blue glow of the standby mode. The only evidence of the haunting encounter was the lingering chill that clung to the air and the terror that gripped Sarah's heart. As Sarah stumbled back from the television, her gaze fell upon a picture frame that had fallen from the wall. its glass shattered.
Faint whisper, help me.